Welcome back everyone. Welcome back to the day 3 for our Selenium training. So here is what we're going to do today. We'll do a quick review of what we did on day 1 and day 2. Very quick review. And then go into a very important and key aspect of how Selenium IDE works. And primarily in terms of how these elements, the so-called objects, are detected, or how does Selenium locate these elements on a web page. Okay, so to do that, there is something called as a Firebug tool. Just few minutes back, I have sent these documents to you, team. You can look at the document, and in that there is something called as a Firebug installation. All right. So I talk about where to download Firebug, how to download it, what are the steps to follow. So you can go through this document and follow these steps. It's a very simple and quick process. It will get you started. Okay. Now, very important, team, please note that you have to do all of this on a Firefox browser, not on a IE, Chrome, or Safari or anything else. Okay. On a Firefox browser. So do these installations, the ones which I sent to you, on a Firefox browser. All right, team. So very quickly, I'm going to open up the browser and we will look at what we did in our folder July 5th, and we had something called as the MC data. So what we could do so far was that I could take two applications, not just one. I could take two applications, two different URLs, and be able to get a simple test case executed through the IDE. So let's load that test case. Hopefully it is MC5 and see what it is. All right, there you go. So here is the URL for the second application, which I'm going to copy very quickly into the Excel. Okay. Now what we want to do is basically compare these values from both the applications. Okay, so we will perform this not on one application, but we'll perform them on more than one application. So there are certain number of steps that have to repeat. We haven't come to a stage where we are trying to read from an Excel or do it for different sets of test data. Not yet. Okay, what we want to do eventually is that we want to capture whatever information we have given here, get the result from that first application, put it in this Excel, get the result also from the second application, put it here, compare these two, and say if the result is pass or fail for each of these test data items. Okay, and all of this we wish to achieve from Selenium, not through IDE, but using RC and a JUnit code or a simple Java code. All right, team. So now, having said that, let's take a deeper look into what we have done out here. So what are the three most important aspects? What we want to do is the command, like open the browser or the URL, type a specific value, select from a drop-down list, click on something and wait. We can store a text, whatever we find, into a variable. We could display that value and so on. Correct? Now, this is the where part, team. Remember that. Sorry, this is the what part. What do we want to do? Then we have the where part. How does Selenium identify them? If you look at it, there is 1/ for open. The 1/ for open is basically saying that it is the root folder of the base URL. If I want to navigate to a different URL, then I can specify the entire URL. Okay. If there is a /, then it will go to that URL. If I have a / and some other text here, it will go to that text, but before that it has to have that base URL. Okay. So I want each of you to experiment around. Not necessarily that we're working with one set of applications and you will continue to work with the same set. No, you could try and do it on different types of application and see how it is behaving. Now, just to let you know, team, we will go in a very simple flow initially, and then we will try and see how we can automate some of the dynamic applications where elements are changing, We need other ways to identify them and so on. We will get there a little later, but I want the basics, the fundamentals to become very clear. So in this target, the value is very simple. Okay, we know what to do, we know where to do. Do we have to give additional information, like what do we want to type, what should we select from the drop down list, so what is the variable name where we want to store some text and so on, correct? So what are these elements? These are nothing but these are being referred to some object in the application. So let's quickly go to this URL, all right? Team, everyone with me so far? Team, everyone with me so far? Please send a chat message. All right. So there is a difference in my Firefox browser from what we saw earlier. There is a small frame to the bottom. So at the moment, I don't need it. So I'm going to minimize it. Okay. Once you install Firebug, at the end of that installation, you will see this icon out here, a bug icon. That's basically a Firebug. What we do, how we do with Firebug, we'll come to it in a few minutes. But before that, let's try and see how each of these are doing. So open, we're saying target, that's fine. So there's nothing much out here. If I go to param home value and say find, Selenium will quickly highlight that object in the application. The same param credit find, then let's say CSS input type equals submit. Okay, CSS TD greater than H3. Okay, there you go. Then these are from a different, once we navigate to the other URL, these objects are there. Okay. Now, what are these sets of information and what is Selenium capturing? What are these? If we are looking at different values here, unless we understand what these values are, it is very tough for us to really work with this tool. So this is the basic fundamental that we need to understand. Okay. Now, once you have installed Firebug, if you go to your tools, you already have Selenium IDE. Now you'll also see something called as a Firebug out here. Okay. On that, there are different things that you can perform. However, let's do very simple thing. You can click simply on this bug out here. It will open up a simple frame for us. What this Firebug specifically does is it gives us an ability to look at the code, the HTML code behind this application. The HTML code is the code which is showing the complete view to you. So whatever we do on this application is all dependent on your HTML code. So out here, the whole code is displayed. So you can expand on this plus signs and you will see the whole code being there. Secondly, what it will let us do is I can inspect specific elements. What do I mean by inspecting? Inspecting is, if you're familiar with QTP, it is like an object spy. It will let you see what information is there where. But third and most important thing, team, is that it will let you edit some of these values, some of the information, and you should be able to see those changes right away. Okay. So the first thing, you can see the HTML code. Second, you can inspect the elements to identify what their properties are. What are these properties? These properties are nothing but they define that specific element. Very simple example that I always try and take in even the QTP sessions is that, for example, if you have a car, okay, car is a type of an object. Okay. When I say your car, it is identified by something called as a specific thing in it. That could be your vehicle identification number, your license plate number, and there could be other descriptions like the model, the make, the year, the features, the color, and so on. All right. So those are the properties. Property name is color. Value of that property is, let's say, silver color or a gray color or a red color. Okay. Property name is, let's say, make. Okay. And then the value could be an Acura. It could be a BMW. It could be a Mercedes. It could be a Toyota. Okay, those are the values for those properties. So for example, now if I take this home value, okay, I can select this or just right click on it, and now you will see something called as an inspect element. Do you see this here? Earlier, before Firebug, this was not present. The inspect element is a feature that Firebug brings to us. Now, when I click on inspect element, you would see that specific object getting highlighted. Can you see this? This is the HTML code which is showing you this home value text. All right, what it says. And team, for those of you who have not got the basic knowledge of HTML, I would strongly recommend for you to go to w3schools.com. There are free tutorials which give you a good basic knowledge of HTML. You must try and watch, read through those. Okay, it is important in irrespective of what job we are in an IT field, testing, development, support, whatever tools. It is good to have a decent knowledge on HTML. Okay, so I'm not going deep into HTML, but just to let you know, TR is basically saying it is a row in a table. In that row, there is a column called TD, and that column is referring to a specific field. There is a class to it, there is an alignment to it, and there is a value inside it. Can you see this? Now, if I take my mouse and go to the next one, you will see automatically the next field is getting highlighted. What is this? In the same row, TR, it is now not the first column, it is the second column. If I go to the next row, it should come down. Do you see this, team? Are you able to appreciate the features of a Firebug? All right, very, very important. It's a very, very neat tool. It is an open source tool, so there's no licensing or something. You can just freely download it and use it. All right. Now, so you can inspect elements. So it will tell us what it is, where it is, and so on. Now, if I told you that I can also change values. So if I click here, I can change the values. Okay, and it will show up here. Or once I've highlighted that element, I can click on edit this HTML. Once I click on this edit this HTML, only this line will show up here. Now, let's say instead of home value, I want to write house value. You see this? As soon as I wrote house value, it changed out here. Did you see that, team? Yes? Now, let's go back to the HTML code. There you go. Now, any object that I take, as I take any object or I scroll down on any of the information here, it will show up. Oops, I don't think we definitely did something which we didn't want it to happen. Basically, that whole thing got deleted. So you'll see this is missing right now. So the easiest thing to do is to load the page. Okay, if you want to undo your changes. Now, has this change been done on mortgagecalculator.org? No. Every time you go to a URL, that page, that HTML file is downloaded onto your system and you're viewing a version of it. Okay. Now with Firebug, you're changing that version. Okay. If you want the original, I just have to go back to the URL and it will show me the original as is. Now this was the original thing. So all I have to do is identify that element, right click, inspect element, and let's say we want to edit it. I want to make it. You can also make an edit out here. So, okay, double click this and oops, what happened? Why is it not letting me change here? I don't have to necessarily click on edit, but that's okay. Edit. Okay, right click, inspect element, and edit HTML. Did I lock something out here? This is interesting. Okay, let's try the other one. Inspect element, credit profile, edit HTML, edit. Okay, let's close this Firebug, reopen it. Very interesting. I'm going to close Firefox itself. Let's reopen and see what might be causing that. All right, mortgage calculator.org. Right click on home value, inspect element. Now I'm able to edit. So I don't know, is it a bug within the application? Could have been, but now I'm able to edit. So now I can enter house value. All I did, team, when such things happen, I just use my basic intellect to close it and reopen it. That's it. Okay. So now I've changed it to house value. So let's change this credit profile also. Let's go to the next row. So since I know HTML, I can navigate. If I'm not sure of it, I can right click here and say inspect element. Okay. Now in credit profile, I want to, let's say, make it credit history. Okay. So as you make these changes, they get reflected out here. Okay. Now, the reason I showed you this is for us to understand what has the IDE been doing. Okay. So now I'm going to close Firebug. I'm going to reload this page. So you're able to edit values. You can make changes to that HTML code. So once I reload this, let's now try and understand as to how we will do the next thing. Now, so where is param home value? Let's do a find out here, right? So why is this called param home value? So if I right click and say inspect element, I refresh the page so that I get the original information back, team. Now I'm going to click on inspect element and you will see that specific element being highlighted. Now let's expand here. Okay. Where is my right click? Inspect element. Okay, there you go. I need a larger window. Okay. Now I can see the element or object and I can also see the description. So in here, is there a name? Is there something that is called param home value that you can see, team? Correct. So what is this name? Name is a property and the value for name is called param home value. All right. So it has captured the name as an identifier. Now, did it capture type equals text as an identifier? No, it only needed param home value and that's what it captured. Okay. There is also a value 300,000. See, there is a property name called value. The value is 300. So that means that when the page loads, by default, there is a 300,000 value in here. Am I right? Let's change it and so let's say if I do 500,000. Okay. 500,000. Come on. Can do this. Value is 123 123. It changed some part of it, but it's not changed the whole value of it. I want this value to change. So let's say 350. 5 123 123. I gave a value, then why is it not capturing it? If I reload that page, it will automatically go and pick up the default values. So what I'm trying to do is definitely just change this. But I don't know if it's a problem with the Firebug, but this value is not changing exactly as I wanted. But anyway, we'll check what the problem could be later. But what I wanted to show you is that every property, there is a value to it. But Selenium captured the name property and said that param home value is used to recognize it. Okay. Now, how about the next object that we see? Credit. Okay, param credit. So what is this pointing to? It's pointing to this credit profile. Now right click and say inspect element on this. Now what do we see here? We see again select is that HTML tag, name as param credit. So it is taken again name as the identifier. Okay, the same thing could be even here. So if I find this element, okay, and which is this param principal out here, right click and say inspect element, and you will see this type is text and so on, value is so and so, but value name is param principal. So for the target, for the first few steps, it has only captured the name. Did it say name equals param term? No. Did it say something like type or value equals something? No. It just put the name itself. The first thing that Selenium does is, if it can find any element with specific information, and I'm in fact building a kind of a manual which is not well formatted right now, it is basically saying that locating through direct references. That is the first thing. Okay. What it does is it checks if there is a property called ID. If there is a property called ID, it will capture that. If there is a name property, else if there is a name property, it will capture that. Else if there is a link property, it will capture that. Now what happens, team, is that, so that is the first step, through directly referring it either through an ID, a name property, or the link name. So for example, I go here and I try and edit this code. Okay, and let's say I put ID equals principal. Okay, and let's assume for a minute that this is unique to this application. Okay, now if I go to Selenium, let's just navigate to the bottom of it and do one record of just changing this loan amount. Okay, so let's say we put 450,000 out here. Now do you see this? What got captured, team? The ID property, only the value of it called principal. That is the one that has got captured. Did it now take the name? No. If I didn't have the name ID, let's just delete this. If I didn't have the ID and I record again on it, and let's say we put something like 345, 345. Okay, did it record? There you go. Now it has captured the name property. So the first priority that Selenium gives is the ID property. If there is an ID, then it will take that value. Else, if there is a name, it will take that value. Else, if it is a link, then it will have something like link equals sign out. Okay, so let's say for example, and it's all experimenting, team. Okay, we want to learn it the right things the right way, but we have to experiment a lot. That is when we will be able to master any tool. We got to keep trying different trial and errors. So let's say still in recording, I click on this mortgage services. Now it has given CSS span because it comes to the next level of identification. If it cannot identify something, then it will identify that, but I don't even think that will work because it is a text banner that it is captured. Let's try this. It still says the same thing. Okay, any other link? Let's see. Link, there you go. So when I clicked on a link, it captured more info. Where was that element? Let's see. Where was this? Out here. Now if I say find this element, it could find it. If I right click and say inspect element, I can see its code. So what should be here, team? The name, the link should be more info. So A is the HTML tag for a hyperlink. Okay, then it will have what it should do. But before the greater than symbol, sorry, after the greater than symbol and before the tag ends, that text will appear, and that is what it will capture. So the first three most fundamental things are: get to see if there is an ID for an application, get to see if there is a name for that application, for that element, okay, in the application, or see if there's a link for that. Okay. Now, what I would like to do is, let's do a simple exercise, team. Okay. We will open a new test case. Okay. I will open a new test case. Now, instead of we doing record, shall we try and identify using what we just learned, these three things: ID, name, property, and using link, and see if I can write Selenium steps, the command, the target, the value. Shall we do that, team? Before that, there are any questions that I can answer? Can we check? Okay, Jay, I'm taking your question. Can we check log file in this case to see error? Okay, the log file is a Selenium file, log file. It is not a Firebug log file. So if I'm doing something out here and something breaks, it won't report here. The logs will get reported when I'm running a test case in Selenium IDE. Okay. So there can be many questions that will come out in terms of what if there is the same ID, same name that the developer has given for two different objects located in two different places. Then what does Selenium do? So let's do that one simple experiment, few things, and then we will go to the next one. Okay. So let me close everything that I've opened. Let me go back to the main mortgage calculator website. Reload this page, and what I want to do is, now this we know is for the param home value or whatever will show up, right? Inspect element. What do let's maximize this. What do I have here, team? Param home value. Now what will happen if I go to the principal and also change inspect element and make this the same value as this, the name property. If I change the value to exactly as it is appearing for home value. So I want to go to the loan amount, and here instead of principal, let's say I write home value. All right. Once I do this, does anything happen to the application? Did this field disappear? No, it is still fine. So it looks like it is working okay so far. Now, if I go to my Selenium IDE and just record a few simple steps, let's say record, I'm going to go to the home value and enter 500,000. Let's observe what comes up here. What do you see? Param home value. It went to the first one. How about now for the second one? If I go here, let's also do credit profile, and let's say we select poor. Okay. So this is the identifier, this is the value, label equals poor. And look at it, it is not giving any quotes or anything besides. It's a very simple, lean tool. So the challenge is that it is not necessarily, it's got all the features supporting like QTP does to work with many dynamic applications, but we will eventually get versions where we will be able to do it. But even now, there are a lot of work around this. Now I want you to observe what will happen if I enter, let's say 345 here. This part we know we will get this value. Here what will we get, team, in a command? What did we do here? We typed something, correct? So that is what we should get here as well. Okay. Now, did you see this? Type. Now it has given a completely different thing. What is this? Why did this come up? Do you see this? Earlier, I just had param. What was that? Principal. Or what was there? I don't even remember what it was earlier. So if I reload the page, we will know. Now, param home value is what I said, right? So I changed this to param home value, but that was not sufficient for Selenium to distinguish this as a unique element. It found param home value for the first element. Since it was the first time, it entered param home value. So when I run this Selenium test, let's see what happens. Let's change values here. Okay, I'm going to change the value to something which is easier for us to work with. Okay, and even this, let's say 11111. Okay, now I want to run this test, but let's go in a very step-by-step manner. Okay, so I'm going to put a breakpoint. How do I put breakpoint? I can use B. Okay, but the problem is if I say this team, what will happen is this page will load again. If I say open, this page will load again. So I don't want this step. I don't want it to reload this page. I want Selenium to run on this page as is. Okay. Now from here, let's put a breakpoint and let's start a slow execution and let's see. Okay. Now it is waiting for us out here. Now I can say pause, resume, or just step, something like called step into in your QTP, where we just go from one step to the other. So step is it should put that value there. Good, and you'll see the log getting generated. Next, select the label poor. So before it does, let's put it to excellent. And now let's see if it selects poor. Good. Now what does it do here? Let's see. There you go. So the minute Selenium found out that there are elements which are having similar properties, it moved to a different way of identifying that element. And the way it used is called as Xpath. All right. Now, in this document which I'm still building, I'm just trying to collect the right text from different places, team, and put it so that it is easy for all of us to understand. Okay. Now, when all of this failed, it couldn't use the same name property again because it had to, there were two elements with the same property, okay, with the same name value, okay. So it didn't use link, it didn't use ID, there was no ID there. Then it goes to the next level of identification called as DOM, Document Object Model, or CSS. We will come to these, some of these at a little later stage when we step into something different. Okay, but I want you to, at this point, get the basics of how the elements are identified. The basics, we will dig deeper later. Okay, how can we write our own XPath and so on. So the third level is by using Xpath. Okay, what Xpath is basically saying is the structure is very simple, team, of an Xpath. Okay, in Word. Okay, now out here, the way Xpath is it starts with 2 forward slashes. Okay, let me. It starts with 2. Come on. Okay, there you go. It first starts with 2 forward slashes. Then the next thing that will come within this quotes is the HTML tag of that element. Okay. Next, what it does is it opens up a square bracket. Then it puts an @ symbol and the prop. Okay, this is a little too big. Okay. And then the property name. So something like ID equals, let's say, username. Okay, and close the square brackets. So it takes that property value and it displays that. Now, if you look at this structure and the structure that got generated, let's copy this and put it out here. Okay. So input is the HTML tag. Okay. Name is the property. Okay. So this is actually called the property. Okay. I wanted to write property. And here we give value, and value is coming, if you observe, in single quotes, team. Okay. So that it can differentiate with different things. Now, if this was not enough, it added an and said the next thing. Okay. So here we say and at next property 2 equals value. All right. So then it took that shape. Okay. Now this is called as an XPath. Okay. Firebug comes with a very, very simple and easy way to identify XPath of any object. Okay. You got it, team? So first it tried to see if there is an ID or a name property that is unique. It captured it. If that didn't work, it goes to link, or it goes to CSS and a DOM, or then it goes to an XPath. And here it generated an XPath. Now, we can write our test very easily by writing all XPaths. For example, if I want to, let's say, select something from here. Instead of refinance, I want to say new purchase. What do I do first? What is the command that we give? Select. Correct? Now, here's the reference for what a select does. Now, what is the target? I have two ways. Okay, I have two ways. First, I can right click, inspect element, and see if there is a ID or a name property value. There is a name, param rp. So I can just write param square brackets rp. Okay, and now what is the value that we will put? We have to say label equals, let's say, new purchase. Note there are no quotes out here. Now, as soon as I write param rp, you have to click on find so that you know if Selenium IDE is able to capture that. Okay. Now you have come to adding a new step. Now the same thing, same selecting on this loan purpose, I can do select command. Okay. In the target, instead of me having to go and search through here, if I right click, not out here, in the right click on the element in the Firebug and select copy XPath. Can you see this, team? What this does is it has copied that XPath into your clipboard. Now I can simply paste that XPath. Here is an XPath that it automatically generated. Okay, how did it generate? It found out there is a HTML body tag, tag, then a body tag, and then a div tag, and so on. So it went all the way till it could reach that specific element. So what it's saying is go to that HTML. In that there is a body. In that there is a div of named 5. There's another div, and there is a form. Then there is a table. Then there is a table body, a row, a column within that row, another table within it, and so on. So it automatically generated a very complex structure to identify it. Now let's see if it works or not. How do we do that? I will put that same XPath here and my application here. I'm going to say find. It says locator not found. Why did this happen? Why is it not able to identify? I right clicked on it and I got it. Why didn't this happen? Because we needed 2 forward slashes, not 1. Okay. Now I say find again. There you go. Okay. Same element, different ways of finding it. Now what if we wanted to write an XPath which is similar but not as complex as this? We want to write. So to do that, all I'll do is put a notepad or a Word doc or whatever we want out here. Okay. Now out here, what I will do is I will look at the properties of this element myself. Number 1, how does an XPath start? 2 forward slashes. Next, what is the HTML tag for this element? What is it, team? Select. So we'll say select. Okay. Then what happens? I have to open up a square bracket. Now I have to give an @ symbol, and what is the property name that I should take? The best one would be name or param or something. I can also say that style equals background, blah, 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 the whole thing. But to keep it simple, I will take @ name equals param, again square brackets, rp, end of single quotes, and end your square brackets. Okay, now I copy this and I put that in the Selenium IDE. Okay, I just put it here. What is the command we want to do? Select. Okay, and we have the Xpath. Now let's see if this works. Oops. Select at name equals param rp. What did I do wrong? No, let's look at the one which is working. Look at this. This character here is different from the character which we put. See, this character here is different from the ones we put. But why? It's the same character. If now I didn't paste it, team, I just typed it. But when I typed it in the Word document, it showed a different character. Now let's say find. There you go. See. So everything was correct. It is just that, team, do you know what character is this? Apostrophe, right? That's an apostrophe, right? Like you give an apostrophe S. So when I copied it from here, it gave me a different font, a different style altogether. But when I deleted it and I put that apostrophe, which is just besides your enter key on your keyboard, it showed me the right one. Now is it able to find? There you go. It is showing me on the application and in my Firebug. Now similarly, let's say for interest rate, see the three ways. One, directly using the name, property, value. Two, generating that XPath, whatever it is, by right clicking on that object. Three, we look at the properties and write our own XPath. Okay. Now let's say interest rate. Now someone, do any of you want to try this, team? I know it's just another 10 minutes away, but do you want to quickly try, someone? Okay, Prashant, I'm going to give it to you. Give keyboard and mouse, and I have you unmuted, so you can talk if you want to while you're trying to do this. Go ahead, Prashant. So we want to do for interest rate. Okay. So what we will do is, let's start writing the command first. What do we want to do here? We want to type, right? Good. And hit enter key. Now click on target. Okay. Or fair enough. Element. Inspect. Okay. Now we have got this. Let's maximize the screen size for everyone's benefit. Yes. Okay. Now where is it? Let's go back again and click on interest rate so that we are sure. Inspect element. It's probably somewhere out here. There you go. Now what do we see? Name equals param interest underscore rate. What if I use a, okay, let's try this first, whatever is there. So for this, I'll open up a simple notepad, okay? Let me open up a simple notepad, and where we will try and write the XPath. Okay. Let's try and write the XPath first for this. We will write it. Go ahead, you can write it here. 2 forward slashes. Okay. What is that HTML tag that we see? No, you don't need anything else except for this screen and this notepad. This is the HTML tag. Okay. That is what is defining it. For example, if this is the object, it is TD. For this, what is it? Input. So let's type in there. Now what do we do next? Open up square brackets. At property name is name itself. equals apostrophe and then whatever we see here. End apostrophe, end square brackets. Okay, good. Thank you. Now let me copy it for you and let's see. All right. Thanks, Prashant. Hopefully this works correctly. Let's see now. So if I copy this text, put it in here under target, make sure that you try and first test to see if Selenium is able to identify it. Click on find. There you go. So this is works. So what do we want to type? Let's say we want to type 5.5. Okay. Now, if I wanted to go, if I did a record, what will Selenium record, team? What will Selenium record if I record this step? Just the name property. Just the value in the name property, not even name equals something. So what it will do is type, okay, oops, and I'll just copy this text from here, and here if I say param interest rate, remove this apostrophes, okay, and if I say find, there you go. See, Selenium is able to find it even directly using the name property because it is unique. Now what if I right click on this? Okay, not here. Okay, let's say inspect element. Where is that element being inspected? There you go. Right click and say copy Xpath. Then paste that here. And now say find that element. Why is it not finding it, team? Yeah, we had to use a double forward slash at the beginning. When we do it, it only gives one. So you have to put in one more and then find. Now does it find it? Yes. Okay. Not because the command is missing. You're just finding the element. Now you can write the command anytime. Okay. But that's a logical way to think also. Is it because command is missing? We have to experiment. We have to practice by experimenting on this. Team, I'm showing you certain experiments. I want you to continue to experiment in a similar fashion again and again, different applications. Okay. Lots of things to do in the same direction as we continue on. All right. Now we've typed this. Now just inquisitive. If there are so many other properties, right, for this element. Right click and say inspect element. Where the heck is this? Okay. I have so many other properties here, right? And let's say if I copy all of this and put it out here into Notepad and say that how about if I say input open square brackets at, then type is a property, apostrophe text is one property value, and at size is the property, apostrophe 4 is another property value, and this is another property value. Will this work, team? As is, will it work? Okay, yes, I missed an and here. Correct. Now will it work? Is the format correct? First thing, is it working or not? It's different. Okay, is the syntax correct? I missed an at also, correct, because it's a property name. So I have to use at value. There you go. Now I copy this whole thing. Okay. Now I copy this whole thing. And let's see, I'm excited to see if Selenium will be able to find it. What are we using? We are using our logic, our own logic to see how it does. Now if I say find, there you go. What if I delete one of these elements properties and click on find? There you go. It's still finding. What if I delete one more and click on find? It is finding, but it is finding the first text field it got. Is it the one we want? No, we want the different one. Okay, so I can use this or I can use this to find it. Okay, but I cannot use just one. So it is all about what properties are required, what information we need to put into it. Okay, I don't want to go any further into identifying about elements than this at the moment. We may come back to a little more complex applications later, but understand one thing, team. What this is giving is a structure of that element. Okay, we are identifying it by the location of the element in that. Here we are taking property values. So for example, now will it find it? Yes. But if I go to this code, okay, and I put this, I delete this code, or I move this code to somewhere else, okay. It's a little exercise editing this. If I edit, so basically what I'm saying is it is telling the location. It is there inside a column, which is there inside a row, which is there inside a table, which is there inside a so. If I change that position to somewhere else, then this will fail because it is trying to go by relative path to that, not identifying using a basic identifier, a property. Okay, so this is a little dangerous to use. The Xpath that is given directly when you right click on any element, inspect that element, right click on it again and say copy Xpath. Okay, that may not give us the best results. Okay, what will give us the best results? Identifying the HTML tag, the property, the value for the property, and testing it out a few times. So if we have to write our own steps in Selenium IDE without a record, this is how we will go. Okay, tomorrow we will try and write our own steps for a few test cases to see how it works. If possible, we'll switch to a different application for that. Okay, meanwhile I'm going to save this test case. If there are any questions, please kindly raise your hand or put them in the chat, team. All right, let's see. So review this video again, please. Everyone has access to videos. I don't want anyone to just come to the live classes because they have a lot of value when you go back and review and when you're practicing it. Okay. So questions, team, I'm taking it. Can you type Xpath syntax in chat box? Okay, I can type the Xpath syntax in a chat box. Okay. This is the one. Okay, I will put it here. I will also put this in a document which I will mail to you later. Okay, but for now I'll put it out here. I'm still making this. Okay, I'm still trying to collect the correct information which I can send to everyone. I also put it in the chat box. Team, any questions please from what we did today? Okay, Ajmal, I've sent emails to everyone saying that day 1 and day 2 are already published on YouTube. You could watch them there on YouTube. For day 3 onwards, I will be putting it on screencast in a different account, different folder. You will be given access to it. And I will also send you an instruction document. You have to follow it exactly that way. Okay? Day 1, day 2 are on the YouTube. Day 3 onwards, I will put it into the screencast folder, team. All right, team. So any other questions? Was this an interesting session? Did you seem to have captured a few things which were different? All right. So these are the details for any tool, team, okay, which is probably missed when we are not trying to learn in a structured manner, or we are not trying to go in a very proper, well-planned manner. Okay. All I try and focus is on two things, practicals and experimenting. I want things to fail and fail and fail because that's how we'll find the right route. Okay. So team, practice on it and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay. And then I think in the next 1 or 2 days, we will start working on our remote control, how we will slowly get to a data-driven framework and so on. Okay. All right, team, take care then. Bye for now. I will send the, so this is saved, this folder, okay, whatever we did. Don't save the other one. Whatever tests we have, you can open up them, put it in a similar folder and use Selenium IDE to open them. Okay. How we can use breakpoint is basically on the IDE, you can select that step, whichever step you want, and let's say MC6, right click on it and say toggle breakpoint. Or shortcut is just your character B. B, 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 B. Okay. What is the purpose of Firebug? What we just saw today. Basically, to view the HTML code. Second, to inspect elements and see what properties they're having. Third is to be able to change any values if you want to do some learning. Okay. Those are the three advantages of Firebug. There is also a good instructional video in the installation document. Towards the end, I kept that link, which is also a getfirebug.com link, where there's a demo video describing the features. We are using some of the features which Firebug comes with, not everything. All right, team. All right. So great. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for attending. Bye for now. Bye, everyone.